All right. બધા પાસ Are we ready? હવે basically when we talk about listening માં we have 60 minutes, right? Questions હોય છે 40. There is 40-minute time જ્યારે audio play થશે. You'll have time to read your questions. You'll have pauses basically, right? Then you have 10 minutes of transfer time, which is not the case in reading. But we have a benefit here. આપણી પાસે અહીંયા time છે transfer કરવાનો answers, right? Now, there are 40 questions. You have answers. You have time to answer each question, right? When the audio plays. However, basically, what are the type of questions that you have, right? First recording જે હશે તમારું listening માં જે first part વાળા questions આવશે એમાં શું હશે basically a conversation between two people, right? It has to be a conversation between two people. Simple હશે, basic હશે. Either it will be a telephonic conference or somewhere એ લોકો મળ્યા હશે ને વાત કરી હશે, talking about their projects or talking about any festival or holidays, right? Hotel room conferences સાંભળ્યા છે આપણે, બધું સાંભળ્યું છે, right? So that is the basic recording 1. હવે recording 2 શું છે? It is a monologue જ્યારે એક માણસ બોલતા હશે, right? એ બધું basic સમજાવતા હશે. It can either be map or it can be something જેમાં એ local તમને સમજાવતા હશે what is going to happen અને શું data છે, right? The third conversation will be between 3 or more people, right? Basically a classroom conference હશે, કોઈ picnic હશે, કશું બી, something like that, right? And the fourth is an student talking about academic student talking about something, right? એ કોઈ બી topic પર subject પર વાત કરશે, કોઈની information આપશે કે કઈ બોલશે, સમજાય છે? Are we clear with the 4 type of recordings that we will have, right? Now, basically 4 parts માં divided હોય છે listening આપણું, we all know. We have 40 questions, we all know, right? We have time to transfer our answers, we know that too. Yes or no? Yes. All right. Now, દરેક question નો 1 mark હોય, right? Okay. હવે what are the type of questions? First is MCQ, જે સૌથી વધારે confusing લાગતું હોય છે because every point it discuss કરશે, right? But even if it discusses everything, there is one point which he'll emphasize more on, which he'll either get back to or which he'll say with a different tone. So we know that કે ભાઈ આની વાત આ કરે છે. ખબર પડી? કાં તો એ ફરી એકવાર એ બોલશે એનું એજ કે ભાઈ આ છે પણ આપણે આ કરવું જોઈએ, right? Or else એ શું કરશે? એક જ point પર વધારે emphasis આપીને વાત કરશે. Do we understand that much? Second is matching heading છે, matching information or whatever, right? આપણે match કરવાનું હશે basic જે speaker બોલે છે અને આપણા bookમાં કે પેપરમાં જે બી information છે એને, right? એ બહુ જ clear cut હશે, will not have something more over the top, right? Now plan, map and diagram જે છે એ મેં જેમ સમજાવ્યું તમને એ clockwise જશે, or else એ તમને આડું અવડું સમજાવશે just to confuse you, right? But we need to listen precisely કે ભાઈ એ શું કહી રહ્યા છે આપણને. Do we understand that much? Then it is form, note, table, flowchart, summary, completion. હવે ફોર્મમાં we generally have the telephonic conversations between event manager or hotel whoever is sitting on the desk, right? પછી નોટમાં શું હશે? Basic details જે પોતે કહેતા હશે બીજા માણસને, જે પોલીસ સ્ટેશનમાં છે કે somewhere else, right? Third is flowchart. Flowchartમાં process હશે, right? They'll explain us everything. બરાબર કે આના પછી આ event છે, આ આટલા વાગે છે, we don't cost for this event, આ eventમાં આ માણસ આવવાના છે. Are we understanding? Everybody is alive and awake, right? Okay. Fifth is sentence completion. Basically એ તમને અડધી information આપી હશે, અડધી તમારે જાતે ભરવાની હશે, બરાબર? એ કોઈ animalની વાત કરતા હશે or else information something related to the environment or કઈ બી બીજી information હોઈ શકે છે આમાં, right? Next is short answer questions. હવે short answer question માં શું થશે? Basically question આપેલા હશે આપણને, એના answer એ બોલશે, but ફેરવીને obviously, right? So we need to hear precisely કે ભાઈ question નો answer શું હશે. Then by each part 1, 2, 3, 4, by each part our listening becomes more difficult, right? ચલો, let's start with it. First આપણે જોઈએ MCQ. Now what do we do is MCQ માં basically MCQ માં પહેલા આપણે જોઈશું question શું કહે છે. We'll have 3 main points or 3 highlights જેના basis પર આપણને answer ખબર પડશે, right? Then we'll have is આપણે keyword highlight કરી લીધા, પછી આપણી પાસે શું હશે? question નો મતલબ સમજવાનો. First question નો મતલબ સમજો, પછી keyword સમજ્યા, 3 keyword pick કરી લીધા, પછી we have to hear first કે જે ભાઈ શું બોલે છે, information શું મળે છે આપણને, right? Then we'll write our answer after listening to the audio. Are we clear? Next is we'll be careful for the words. જ્યારે MCQ આપે ને તો they confuse you with these words, but however, બરાબર? પહેલા બે વસ્તુ કથા કરી લીધી, પછી but I would like to do this, ખબર પડે છે? However, this is the case, આવી રીતે તમને કહી દેશે. So we know કે third આપણો answer છે. Are we understanding? Then the last is કે આપણે જ્યારે answer લખીએ છે તો we do not have to make mistakes in the spelling. Now basically આ MCQ ના questions છે જે example માં આપણને આપ્યા છે. I'll play the audio. One by one, you will give me the answers. Okay? Do we have our pencil with us? આપણે answer solve કરેલા છે? Right? So we'll know. ચલો જોઈએ. ખોલ દે.
Conversation between two students about a project they are working on. You have 30 seconds to look at questions 21 to 30.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
I'm okay now, Sarah, but I was so ill last week.
Oh dear. What was the problem? Did you eat that dodgy fish in the canteen?
No. At first I thought it was a cold, but then my head started hurting and my eyes started to go blurry.
I'm so sorry. That sounds serious.
It's okay, actually.
First thing, સારાએ શું કીધું? Did you eat something? બરાબર, એને જે બી એલર્જી છે. બેઝિકલી એને જેની એલર્જી છે, સારાએ પૂછ્યું તે ફૂડ ખાધું, એને ના પાડી. નેક્સ્ટ બિલે શું કીધું? પહેલા મને શું થયું? મને કોલ્ડ થયો છે, but it was a severe headache, right? The severe pain in his head. Are we understanding? What is the answer? C. Play kar.
I went to the doctor and he diagnosed me with a migraine. He gave me some medicine and I'm starting to feel much better.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, I'm also glad you're in today because we have to work on a new project together.
Oh, are we in the same section?
No, it's just us. No one else. Mr. Donaldson has put us down as B team because we live near each other.
That could be fun. What do we have to...
Well, the project is partly internet research, then checking reference books for information to prepare a survey, which we have to use with people we know.
Great. What's the topic?
It's to do with shopping over the last 10 years. We have to find out...
Basically, ફર્સ્ટ 22 માં શું કીધું પ્રોફેસરે કેમ એને આપ્યું છે because they live near each other, right? હવે બાકી કોઈ ઓપ્શન મેન્શન થયો નતો, so obviously that is a clear cut answer. Are we understanding? 23 question માં એને શું કીધું, એનું શું કામ હતું? Internet research, right? Does a point mention anything related to internet શું કહે છે? Research and write a survey questionnaire, right? Second option શું કહે છે? Ask shopkeepers questions, જે already mention નતો એટલે point આપણે અહીંયાથી જ cancel કરી દીધો, right? Next point is submit the project via internet. Submission ની તો વાત જ નથી થઈ, આપણે વાત કરી છે research ની. ખબર પડી? The only option that we have is A. Are we understanding? Okay. Now એને ટોપિક પૂછ્યું, આપણે કયા ટોપિક પર રિસર્ચ કરવાના છીએ, રાઈટ?
How customers have changed their behavior.
Okay, so what's the first step?
I think the first thing to do is check the list of references he gave me. But my computer is in for repair, so if I check in the reference library, would you be willing to look up some references online? Once we're done with the reference checks, we can write the questions together.
That's fine. I'll do the internet research. So, what sort of shopping are we looking at? Only food?
આપણે શું કરવાનું છે? એનું રિપેર કરો આપ્યું છે કમ્પ્યુટર. ફર્સ્ટ શું થઈ ગયું? યુઝ ઓફ અ કમ્પ્યુટર, બરાબર? એ મેન્શન કર્યું. પછી એને શું મેન્શન કર્યું? આપણે શું કરવાનું, ટાસ્ક શું છે? તો ભાઈ આપણે લિસ્ટ ઓફ ક્વેશ્ચન્સ જોવાના છે. થર્ડ એને શું મેન્શન કર્યું? વિઝિટ ધી લાઇબ્રેરી. હવે what do you think is the answer? To visit the library is the answer. What does Sarah want Bill to do? સારાનું કમ્પ્યુટર ગાયબ હતું, બરાબર? એનું કમ્પ્યુટર રિપેરમાં હતું. What does she want? આપણો આન્સર શું છે? Are we understanding? અહીંયા કમ્પ્યુટરની વાત કરી હતી, બરાબર? તો યુઝ ઓફ કમ્પ્યુટર ઇઝ ધી આન્સર. Are we clear? Okay. Next. પ્લે કરજો.
Or goods or clothes shopping?
We have to find people who are willing to tell us about personal things like deodorants, cosmetics, soap or vitamin creams. The other groups are doing food, electrical goods and clothes.
Personal information, which is either deodorants and cosmetics, or we can also have a research on electrical goods. What do you think is our answer? A. કઈ રીતે? Because it was clearly mentioned કે એને personal items પર જવું છે, right? Are we understanding the audio? Okay. Next.
Well, then you think so.
And you can ask the men.
Easy, Sarah. Easy, Sarah. People might think those things are a bit private.
Yes, I thought about that. I'll ask the women and you can ask the men. That should work okay.
Well, if you think so, give me the list of references then.
Sorry, I left them in my other bag at Joseph's house. I'll get them for you tomorrow.
Okay. Well, then this afternoon I think I'll catch up on the notes from last week. Can you help me, or are you busy?
I've made you a copy of the notes already to save you time. Here you are.
Wow, thanks, Sarah. That's so thoughtful. Well, since there's nothing for us to do right now, shall we go for lunch?
Actually, I'll have to catch you later. I have to go to a meeting this afternoon. Can I phone you tonight to arrange when to meet?
No, sorry, I have a date. Can we meet in the laboratory for the first class tomorrow?
I'm not sure because I have to go to the library to collect some books. What about meeting there at lunchtime?
You mean in the lab?
Yes.
Okay, see you in the laboratory tomorrow at noon then. Sounds like we have a lot of work to do.
So first એને શું મેન્શન કર્યું? ફર્સ્ટ એને શું મેન્શન કર્યું કે ભાઈ આપણે આવા પ્રાઇવેટ ક્વેશ્ચન્સ પૂછીશું તો will people think that we are invading their privacy, right? એ ઓલરેડી એ મેન્શન કર્યું છે. સારાનું સોલ્યુશન શું હતું? You ask the men, I'll ask the women, right? So the answer for question number 26 is B, right? Next is બિલે શું કીધું? What was the plan of Bill? કે ભાઈ નોટ્સ બનાવશે. He'll catch up for the notes of last week. બરાબર? હવે અહીંયા already mention કર્યું છે કે he'll review the notes of the last week, right? Then next is સારાએ શું કર્યું બિલ માટે? જ્યારે બિલે કીધું કે તું ફ્રી હોય તો મારી સાથે નોટ્સ બનાવ તો સારાએ શું કીધું? મેં ઓલરેડી તારા માટે એક કોપી બનાવી લીધી છે, right? Now gives him a copy of her notes is the correct answer. How do we know so? Because already આપણને સારાએ clear cut information આપી દીધી છે. Next is what does Sarah do for Bill? તો શું કરે છે સારા? એને શું કીધું? ક્યાં જશે? થોડી લાઇબ્રેરી જશે, થોડી books લેવા, right? Which is a clear cut option here. Collect some books. Then શું છે? 30 માં answer. Where do Bill and Sarah agree to meet the next day? Laboratory. બરાબર? એ laboratory કે છે પણ આપણે સમજી ગયા કે ભાઈ laboratory છે. Are we understanding? Okay. The next is now matching information, right? હવે basically strategy બધામાં same હશે. Question સમજીશું. First of all, we need to understand this question. અહીંયા કેટલું allow કર્યું છે આપણને, right? અહીંયા 3 letters કીધા છે તો we have to choose from these 3 letters, right? આપણે 3 થી વધારે answer લાગતા હોય તો બી select ના કરી શકીએ, right? Then what we have to do is question શું કહે છે? Which 3 features below are mentioned by the speaker as characteristic of John Myro's art, right? આપણે જોન માયરોના 3 આર્ટ બેઝિકલી ગોતવાના છે. Are we understanding?
You now have 30 seconds to look at questions 33 to 35.
So, having spent the last 5 years as a visiting professor in Barcelona, it's not surprising that I finally chose to talk about one of the greatest Catalan artists, one whose work is likely to be familiar to many of you, Juan Miró. Look at this, and this, and this. Ring any bells? Miró's most famous and most widely reproduced works tend to be like this: bright primary colors, with lots of asymmetrical forms. He painted on large canvases, larger than himself quite often, and his paintings depicted birds, trees, flowers, and other features of the natural world. But Miró produced a great variety of work, and it's about some of his lesser-known paintings that I would like to speak this evening.
What all did he mention? અને ફર્સ્ટલી શું કીધું એના યુઝ ઓફ પ્રાઇમરી કલર્સ સેકન્ડલી એને શું કીધું જ્યોમેટ્રિક ફોર્મ્સ યુઝ કરે છે થર્ડ એને શું કીધું સ્કલ્પચર્સ એન્ડ પેઇન્ટિંગ્સ માં એમને અંડરલાઈન કર્યું છે અને બર્ડ્સ ની વાત કરી છે અને ટ્રીઝ ની વાત કરી છે રાઈટ are we understanding so the first option is B then D and then G right F nahi aave large painting that contains geometric forms ખબર પડી okay next type of question પર જઈએ that is plan map diagram labeling જેમ મેં આમાં તમને કીધું હતું ક્લિયરલી કીધું હશે કે આ શું છે રાઈટ હવે strategy is the same we'll understand the diagram ક્યાંથી start point છે ક્યાં end છે right how do we do that ચલો હું સમજાવી દઉં અહીંયા બરાબર હવે જો અહીંયા સ્ટાર્ટિંગ પોઈન્ટ છે આપણું ગેટ આપણો સ્ટાર્ટિંગ પોઈન્ટ છે રાઈટ નાઉ ધી પ્રોસેસ સ્ટાર્ટ્સ ફ્રોમ અહીંયા આપણને નંબરિંગ આપેલું છે એટલે બેઝિકલી આપણને હિન્ટ આપી છે કે આપણો સ્પીકર ક્યાંથી સ્ટાર્ટ કરશે રાઈટ તો ગેટની બાજુમાં ગાર્ડન છે પછી આ છે પછી એની સામે આ છે બેઝિકલી વી આર જસ્ટ અઝ્યુમિંગ કે ભાઈ આવી રીતે આપણને ગોળ ગોળ ફેરવીને ઇન્ફોર્મેશન કીધી હશે રાઈટ then he'll talk about something about cafeteria then chemistry block માં જશે then 29 then languages center and so on right now જે મેં વાત કરી હતી કે ભાઈ ક્લોકવાઇઝ જાય છે ડેટા or else zigzag form માં જાય છે this is the example of zigzag format પહેલા અહીંથી સ્ટાર્ટ કરે છે અહીંયાથી આમ આવે છે પછી આમ જઈને આમ આવે છે are we understanding right ચલો
You now have 30 seconds to look at questions 17 to 20.
Now, if I could draw your attention to the back page of your joining instructions booklet, you will see a small map of this campus, Dinglewood. The block we are in now, the Office and Administration block, is located between the Languages Centre, Block 38, and the Physics School, Block 30. That's 3O. These are both on the right side of the plan. The cafeteria, which is open from 7 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., is on the left of the plan. It is between the chemistry block, number 35, and the university shop, block 33. At the university shop, you can get all you will need in terms of course materials. The biology block is block number 29, and you'll find the biology block between the chemistry block and the languages centre. Be careful with the numbers, as they are not always logical. As you will see, there are gardens on the right-hand side of the gate. These are being extended over the next 2 months, and a memorial fountain is being installed in the middle of the campus. This means that the campus will be very noisy during normal working hours. However, the campus will look much nicer when it's all finished. Right, so that's it for your initial campus orientation. At this point, could the language students all follow me, please, and the rest of you, please assemble under the banners.
Clearly, એને પહેલા શું કીધું ક્યાંથી સ્ટાર્ટ કર્યું ઓફિસ એન્ડ એડમિનિસ્ટ્રેશન બ્લોક થી રાઈટ એનું સ્ટાર્ટ પોઈન્ટ અહીંયા છે પછી એ ક્યાં ગયો બરાબર તો અહીંયા ફિઝિક્સ પર ગયો પછી અહીંયા આવ્યો પછી અહીંયા ગયો પછી અહીંયા આવ્યો ડુ વી અન્ડરસ્ટેન્ડ ખબર પડી ઝિગઝેગમાં જ્યારે ઇન્ફોર્મેશન જશે તો આડી અવડી આપી હશે આર વી અન્ડરસ્ટેન્ડિંગ નાઉ આવડશે હવે પ્રોસેસ ઓકે હા ઓડિયોમાં તમને નંબર વાઇઝ જ આન્સર આપશે ઓકે નેક્સ્ટ ઇઝ ફોર્મ નોટ ટેબલ ફ્લો ચાર્ટ સમરી કમ્પ્લીશન રાઈટ બેઝિકલી આમાં તમને અડધી ડેટા તો આપેલી હશે બેઝિકલી આમાં અડધો ડેટા આપેલો હશે we'll have to find the rest of the information મેં જેમ એક્ઝામ્પલ આપ્યું તમને અડધું ડિટેલ કઈ રીતે આપ્યું હોય કોઈ બી ઇવેન્ટની વાત કરી હોય કે પછી કોઈ બી પ્રોસેસની વાત કરી કે ભાઈ અહીંયા થવાનું છે આ લોકેશન છે આ ટાઈમ છે this much is the charge all of that will be mentioned here right હવે સ્ટાર્ટ કરીએ with the example હવે એક્ઝામ્પલના ક્વેશ્ચનમાં it is mentioned કે we cannot use words more than 2 and a number either 2 words and a number or 1 word and a number right
30 seconds to look at questions 7 to 10.
You will hear a telephone conversation between a man and a college receptionist. You have 30 seconds to look at questions 1 to 4.
What languages are you interested in?
Actually, I'm not sure. I have to fulfill a language requirement for school, but I haven't really decided what language to study. How many language courses do you run each week?
We have 2 every night from Monday to Friday.
I'm sorry, but would you mind going through the schedule for me?
Not at all. Monday to Wednesday are modern European languages, French, Spanish, German, Dutch, and Polish. Thursday night we offer ancient languages, Latin and ancient Greek. And on Friday we finish off with the Asian languages of Hindi and Bengali.
Monday to Wednesday, modern European, Thursday, ancient languages, and Friday, Asian. Can you spell Bengali, please?
Yes, it's Bengali.
Great. And how much do the courses cost?
Each course costs £25 per person per term. But if you want to do 2 language courses, there's a 10% discount, but only if you book for 2 terms.
So the 10% discount is if I take 2 courses for 2 terms. Is that right?
Right.
Would it be possible for me to book my classes right now?
No, sorry, the computer's down. What I suggest you do is call extension 6994 after 6 p.m. and ask for Mrs. Johnson.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Did you say 6994 after 6 p.m.?
Yes, 6994. Please ask for Mrs. Johnson.
Thanks.
ગ્રીક બરાબર સેકન્ડ શેમાં શું આવશે બેંગાલી થર્ડ ઇઝ 2 ટર્મ્સ માટે બુક કરે તો જ 10% ડિસ્કાઉન્ટ છે રાઈટ અને 6 વાગ્યા પછી કયા નંબર પર કરવાનું એક્સટેન્શન 6994 આર વી અન્ડરસ્ટેન્ડિંગ આવડશે હવે Now it is about sentence completion. જેમાં તમને halfway data આપ્યો હશે, you just have to complete the questions. જો અડધા ઉપર data આપેલો છે, you just have to fill in the blanks. આવી understanding? બધાને સમજાય છે? Okay.
Seconds to look at questions 7 to 10.
Excellent. So if you could please send us the receipts for the hotel and the taxi rides, and after we receive them, it should take about 48 hours for the funds to reach Mr. Sparrow's account.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Actually, yes, there's one more thing. Mr. Sparrow complained about the meal during the flight. He said that it was a bit bland.
Right.
So he asked me if it was possible to switch to a different meal option for his upcoming flight to Kiev next week.
Right, of course. Just give me a minute, please. Right, I see that Mr. Sparrow had the light meal option for his flight to London, and you would like to change that. What would you like to change it to?
What are the other options?
We've got 12 different meal options. Would you like me to list all of them for you?
Well, Mr. has told me that he would prefer something without meat. How many of these do not contain meat?
We've got 3 meal options without meat. We've got the vegetarian option, the vegan option, and the Asian vegetarian.
What's the difference?
There's a variety of different dishes served with each option. For example, next week, the vegetarian option will be a small spinach and feta cheese pie, a bread roll, a salad, and tropical fruit.
And the vegan option?
The vegan option doesn't include any dairy products, and it also doesn't include fowl, eggs, or honey. I'm afraid I don't have the specific menu for this week, but I can email it to you as soon as it becomes available.
Oh, could you do that? That would be great.
Yes, of course. I can email you a detailed description of all the meal options if you like.
Yes, please.
No problem. Please do not forget to call us back to change the meal option. You need to do that 48 hours before the departure time for international flights and 24 hours for domestic flights.
So 48 hours for this one then?
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Transatlantic flights require 48 hours. All flights within Europe require 24 hours. So in this case, you will need to call us 24 hours in advance. I apologize for that.
Okay, great.
So, could I please have your email address so I can send you the menus?
Certainly. It's matt.walsh@.
ફર્સ્ટ એને શું કીધું? એની પ્રીવિયસ ફ્લાઇટમાં એને શેની પ્રોબ્લેમ થઈ હતી? મીલની. એને કયું મીલ સિલેક્ટ કર્યું હતું? લાઇટ મીલ, રાઈટ? Then which are the 3 meals જે available છે that are without meat? Vegetarian, vegan and Asian vegetarian. Then the third question was કે ભાઈ vegan option માં શું શું નથી હોતું? તો dairy products આખું લખવાનું, eggs, fowl and honey. Then the fourth question was કે meal option જે છે એ ક્યારે change કરી શકે? So the confusion was એને શું કીધું હતું? 48 hours for international departures, 48 hours before international flight departure time and 24 hours before national. પણ એને શું કીધું? યુરોપની અંદર જ છે તો it is 24 hours. લાસ્ટમાં એને ટ્રિક કરવાની ટ્રાય કરી હતી, બટ એટ ધી એન્ડ આપણો આન્સર શું આવશે? 24 hours. સમજ પડે છે કઈ રીતે 24 આવ્યો? Are we understanding? All right. Now, short answer questions. આમાં basically તમને questions આપેલા હશે, right? You just have to select the answers, right? Okay.
You will hear a lecture about English language. You have 30 seconds to look at questions 31 to 37.
Those of you who were here last week will remember that we talked about the journey of the English language from its early Indo-European origins through to Old English, Middle English, and then to early and late modern English before it reached the form that it has today. Today, we will be continuing that theme by focusing on the future of the English language and all the places it might go from here. There are about 2.1 billion people around the world who can speak English. Out of these, only 400 million are native speakers, which means that 4 in 5 English speakers are non-natives. This is obviously quite an impressive number, considering that just 2 centuries ago, in 1801, there were only about 20 million speakers of English around the world, and languages like French and German were ahead of English in terms of how many people were using them. But what does it mean? What it means is that the future of the English language doesn't really depend on its native speakers, but on that massive number of non-native speakers learning it around the world. Has anyone heard the term pidgin before, or Creole? A pidgin is a simplified version of a language which acts as a bridge between two people who don't have a common language, allowing them to communicate with each other. While a Creole is a language that evolves from a pidgin, with the difference that it is fully formed with clear grammatical rules and vocabulary. There are currently dozens of Pidgin and Creole languages based on English around the world, for example, Nigerian Pidgin or Jamaican Patois. These languages are also known as Englishes. What's interesting about these Englishes is how different they sound to, for lack of a better term, proper English. Take the word trousers, for instance. In Sheng, which is a Kenyan Creole language, they're called longi because they're long. But even versions of English that are recognized as official variations or dialects still differ greatly from each other. Americans and Jamaicans would call the back of a car where you store your luggage the trunk. Britons, Australians, Canadians, and other Commonwealth countries would call it the boot. A subway in the UK is a tunnel under a road that allows pedestrians to cross safely. In the US, it's an underground train. You might think of these differences as minute, but when you take into account the dozens of different versions of English out there, a very intriguing parallel arises with another language from the past, Latin. Latin, too, used to be a lingua franca. Nowadays, it's all but dead, spoken only by a few clerics and scholars. At some point in history, it splintered into various different languages which became known as Romance languages. For example, Spanish, Italian, or French. There are some that theorize that the same thing might happen to English in the near or distant future, that all these Englishes
test one.
Section. You will hear a university librarian giving a talk to new students. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, welcome to the Carlton Hotel. How can I help you?
We've just driven up from London and we're going to stay here in York for a few days. We'd like to book a couple of rooms.
Okay, sir. So for how many nights is that?
We'll be leaving on Monday morning, so let me see, that's 3 nights?
And you said 2 rooms. Who are the rooms for?
I'm here with my wife and 2 kids. They are 9 and 11. Sorry, 9 and 12. The eldest has just had his birthday. So we'd like 1 twin room for the kids and another double for my wife and I.
Okay, well, we've got 2 rooms available, both en suite.
Great. How much are they per night?
Let me see. The twin room is £40 per night, and the double room is £50 per night.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. So what is the total for 3 nights for both rooms?
Let me check. That will be a total of £270.
And that includes everything?
Yes, that price includes tax.
Okay. Can I pay by credit card?
Yes, sure. You'll need to pay for the first night now, and you can pay for the other nights when you leave. Or you can pay for all 3 nights now.
I think I'll just pay for everything now, as we'll definitely be here till Monday.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just need to take some details from you to confirm the booking. Can you give me your full name?
Yes, it's Michael Fernsby. That's Fernsby.
And what's your date of birth, please?
The 15th of October, 1968.
The 5th of October, 1968?
No, the 15th.
Oh, okay, sorry. And can you give me your address?
Sure, it's 273 Stanton Court. That's Stanton, London WC2D 5JB.
WC2D 5JB?
Yes, that's right.
And your telephone number?
My mobile number is... Hold on, just let me check. I can never remember it. Ah, here it is. It's 08773 879 456.
Okay, those rooms are booked for you then.
Okay. I know we're a bit out of town here. Can you give me some information about getting into the centre of town? We'll probably head in tomorrow.
Well, you could drive in, but the parking is not great in town. It's difficult to get a space and is quite expensive if you're staying there all day.
Yes, we're thinking of going to look around some of the shops and to look at the wall around the city. So we'll probably be there most of the day.
In that case, you're probably best taking a taxi or the bus.
How much is a taxi?
Into town it will be about £12. Actually, no, I'd say it's around £15. Fares have increased recently. We can book it here for you and it will pick you up outside. It only takes about 10 minutes.
Right, I see. What about the bus? How much is that and where does it go from?
It's only £2 per person. It's not far from here. You go out of here, turn right onto Oak Tree Avenue, and it's about a 5-minute walk down the road. You can't miss it. The bus ride is about 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. Maybe we could do that.
Or you could walk, actually, if you like walking. Part of the way you can walk through the nice park, which is fairly popular with visitors to York. It's about 30 minutes, but it's quite pleasant.
Right, well, there's a few options there. We'll have a think about it. I'll go and get my wife and kids. They're just waiting in the car.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks for booking with us.
You are going to hear a talk about pandas. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully, and answer questions 11 to 14.
Okay, I'm here today to talk to you all about the panda. It is a species of bear that is under great threat from the damage that humans are doing.
You are going to hear a talk about pandas. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully, and answer questions 11 to 14.
Okay, I'm here today to talk to you all about the panda. It is a species of bear that is under great threat from the damage that humans are doing to the places where they live. The panda is a peaceful animal that has a black and white coat and is loved around the world. It is a distinctive symbol of China, and the panda has also been the logo of the WWF. That's the Worldwide Fund for Nature, since it was set up in 1961. It is a member of the bear family. They live mainly in bamboo forests high in the mountains of western China. A panda's daily menu consists almost entirely of the leaves, stems and shoots of various bamboo plants. Bamboo contains very little nutritional value, so pandas must eat 12 to 38 kilograms every day to meet their energy needs. Newborn pandas are about the size of a stick of butter, so that is really small. But they can grow up to 330 pounds as adults. They are dependent on their mothers for the first few months of their lives. Panda cubs start to climb trees when they're only 6 months old, and as adults, the pandas make excellent climbers, despite their big weight. A panda's average life in the wild is 14 to 20 years, but a panda can live up to 30 years when they are looked after in places such as zoos. So why do we worry about pandas so much? Why are they important? Well, pandas play a very important part in the bamboo forests where they live by spreading seeds, which helps plants and trees to grow. In the Yangtze Basin, where pandas live, the forests are full of a vast variety of amazing wildlife, such as dwarf blue sheep, multicoloured pheasants, and other species that are in danger of extinction, including the golden monkey. Also, pandas bring huge economic benefits to local communities through ecotourism. Pandas have two main threats. The first is hunting, which is a constant concern. Poaching or killing the animals for their fur has declined due to strict laws and greater public awareness of the panda's protected status. But hunters seeking other animals in panda habitats continue to kill pandas accidentally. They are also threatened by habitat loss. In other words, by the loss of the home where they live. China's Yangtze Basin region is where the panda's main home is. But this area is an important economic region for this booming country. So roads and railroads are being built, and these are increasingly destroying the forest. This means that panda populations get separated, and so they can't find a partner to mate with and have babies. Destroying the forest also reduces pandas' access to the bamboo they need to eat to survive.
Now, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 15 to 20.
So what is being done to protect the panda? The Chinese government has established more than 50 panda reserves. Reserves are places in the wild where animals are protected. However, only around 61% of the country's panda population is protected by these reserves. The WWF is also playing a big part in protecting the panda. The idea for the WWF logo came from Chi-Chi, a giant panda that had arrived at London Zoo in 1961, the same year WWF was created. The people who set up the WWF were aware of the need for a strong symbol that everybody around the world would recognise. They agreed that the big, furry animal with her cuddly, black-patched eyes would make an excellent logo. This has helped to encourage many people to help support the panda. Controversially, a well-known television presenter called Chris Packham, who has hosted programmes about animals for many years on British TV, said pandas might not be worth saving. He explained that pandas are extraordinarily expensive to keep going. We spend millions and millions of pounds on this one species, but much less on others. He argues that it would be better to take all this money we spend on pandas and look after other natural places such as rainforests around the world. He says we have to accept that some animals are stronger than others. The panda is a bear that eats a type of food that isn't very nutritious. It gets diseases easily, and it's very difficult to breed. He thinks that extinction is very much a part of life on Earth, and we're going to have to get used to it in the next few years because climate change is going to result in all sorts of animals disappearing. However, I don't agree with him. The panda is quite a weak animal, but this is not why it is going to die or become extinct. When he says that if you leave them be, they will die out, that's simply not true. The reason it is in danger is because of the damage that humans are doing to the forests that they live in. If we don't destroy this, then they will survive in the same way that they have for thousands of years. And also, the places where the pandas live should be protected anyway. The panda shares its home with the red panda, golden monkeys, and various birds that are found nowhere else in the world. The pandas' numbers are increasing in the wild, so I don't see them dying out. OK, I hope you've enjoyed my short talk on pandas. Are there any questions?
You now have 30 seconds to check your answers.
Section 3. You will hear a tutor and 2 students discussing a business case study. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Right, Jason and Karen. Now, I asked you to look at the case study for Box Telecom as part of your exam assessment. It's interesting because they're in the middle of problems at the moment, and I want you to track how they deal with them. Let's start with you, Karen. Having read through the case study, can you just summarize what the problems were that Box Telecom had to take on board?
Yeah. Well, of course, what first came to their attention was that despite a new advertising campaign, they were suffering from falling sales, and this is something that had many causes. On top of that immediate problem, what had also happened over the last 2 years was that although they had invested in an expansion plan, they had to face up to increased competition. And before they had a chance to get to grips with the effects of that, they were stalled by a strike, and it was just when they were thinking about making a colossal investment in new machinery for their plants. So they were really in trouble.
Yes, I think that's fair. And Jason, now you contacted the company, didn't you? What did the company define as the reasons for these problems?
Well, I think they've hit on the right things. It would be easy to say they had invested too heavily or at the wrong time, but in fact the signs were good, and what they were set back by was high interest rates. At the same time, their longer-term problems, which were affecting their market share, were eventually credited to poor training. And having looked at the details in their last report, I think that's right.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
So, on to the larger issues then. Karen, what do you think the company will do?
Well, obviously they have the choice of accepting the very favourable terms that another company, KMG PLC, have given them to buy them out. That would mean creating a new company with a new image. Or they could decide on a bolder move and offer some new shares if they wanted. But I think they're much more cautious than that and expect they will start trying to find individuals who'd be prepared to back them with some of the capital they need.
Well, you mustn't always assume that dramatic problems require dramatic solutions. Sometimes there's a simple fix, such as changing the guy at the top. If they truly are cautious, then I suspect they will seek to shut down some of their shops. But a more ambitious approach, and one which I think would have more chance of success, would be to alter how they're running things, the management layers and the processes. So, in your analysis, try to think of all the options. Jason?
Yes, it's interesting because I found it a really useful company to study. Its problems cross all types of industries, and it's lucky it's so big. A smaller or even medium-sized company would have gone under by now.
Ah, well, in fact, what I want you two to do is to go away when we've finished our discussion today and write a report. We've looked in general at the telecommunications market in the UK over the last few sessions, and I want you to take Box Telecom as an example and suggest some ways in which they might overcome their problems, and outline the reasons why you think as you do. But try and keep it intrinsic to the company rather than dragging in other examples. Is that okay, Karen?
Yes, I think I can do that. Personally, I've got great hopes for it. I think it will recover. That advertising campaign they did was very strong, and they're very innovative with their products. They set new trends. The company's got to recover, don't you think, Jason?
I'm not sure. I think it can, but it's not a foregone conclusion unless they manage to attract the right level of investment. The company definitely needs a boost, and to attract more highly skilled workers if their recovery is to be long-lasting. When I was talking to the marketing manager, he said to me that he thinks the company had got a great management team. But he would say that, wouldn't he? But they are suffering from having to work with outdated production machinery, and that could cost a lot to put right.
Well, personally, I think the stock market is to blame. I think they were expecting too much of the company, and then inevitably it looked bad when it didn't perform. The market should have had more realistic expectations. And I disagree with you about the advertising campaign, Karen. That's where they could do with some innovation to get sales kick-started. Anyway, let's see what you come up with those.
That is the end of section 3. You now have
Then એને શું વાત કરી જ્યારે વાત આવી હતી જેસનની જેસને શું કીધું એમની પાસે right level of investment નથી. That means too little investment, right? Okay. Are we understanding, everybody?
Section 4. You will hear a university librarian giving a talk to new students. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Okay, are you all settled? Well, first of all, welcome to Cardiff University. I'm here to explain what we can offer you. Now, as a new student at the university, you will probably need some sort of guidance to help you to use the library effectively to study and research. Some of you have asked about a guided tour, but we find this rather muddles people. So, in this first week, we run a series of talks which focus on different aspects of the library and its resources. You'll also find that to get the most out of the library, you really do need to be computer literate. And so all this term we run small classes which will bring you up to speed on how to access the computer-loaded information. Okay, now let me give you an outline of what's available to you. You'll find that the computers are increasingly used as a research tool. Many students do most of their research on the internet, and the library computers are permanently online. Having found what you need, you'll find you can readily save texts on your personal computer space to print off when you need. You might think that it is the fastest way to get information, but the links can be slow. Clearly, you can find lots on there, but much of it is useless information, as it is from highly debatable sources, so be critical. You'll also find that the library has loaded several CD-ROMs onto the computers from specialist reference sources, such as the MLA. It means we can expand what we offer you at very little extra cost and saves us having to invest in more and more books. The CD-ROMs contain exactly the same information as the reference books, as the two are updated together. Now, most of you will need to refer to journal articles in your work, and you'll find you can also access these online, and we encourage you to do so. Clearly, some of you will find the printed version more accessible as it sits on the shelves, but I'm afraid the intention is to phase these out eventually. However, you will still be able to print off a version of the text rather than photocopying the journal pages. So you must get used to working online. Naturally, we do still have the full range of classic reference books, additional to the CD-ROMs for you to use, and there are several copies of each one. This is because some of you may prefer to borrow a book rather than sit in the library. There is a restricted loan time on these, so that they are not missing from the shelves for too long. Although there is a section manager for each part of the library, they are very busy. And so, if you do get stuck looking for things, you should ask the relevant cataloguing assistant. As your training supervisor, I just oversee your induction and will not be around after this initial week. Some of you may be interested to know that the library is offering specialised training sessions on writing a dissertation. Obviously, this is not relevant to those of you who are undergraduates. It is just for postgraduates. Your department will discuss the planning stage of the dissertation, i.e. what you're going to do with you, and we will focus on the structure of it. However, the training will also include some time on the computers. I realise most of you know how to organise files, but we can show you the different ways to run data programs. Your tutors will tell you at the outset how to set out the chapters they require, but you will need to ask them how they would like you to organise the bibliography, because it varies depending on your subject area. When you've got something together, the trainer here will look through the draft version for you to see if it's okay. And one final point, for those of you who have registered from abroad, we can offer individual sessions on dissertations if you feel you need them. If you require language lessons, then they are available from the International Centre next to the Law Department.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test.